because I have self-diagnosed ADD and I have a hard time focusing. So kinetic prayers help the left and the right hemispheres join. So I'd love you to play along with me.
Yes.
And Darrell, what is your intention for this next hour?
What's my intention? For us to have a wonderful time expressing good news on the show.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay, and Ed?
My intention is to be an open channel for God to express through us in joy and laughter and words that inspire other people to recognize how powerful they are in their own lives.
Okay. And my intention is joy. It's to have a good time.
Perfect. Yes.
So I'm going to ask you both if you just raise your dominant hand and put your thumb up like an artist would.
Yep.
Okay. And just focus on your thumb and say, I am an artist and my life is a masterpiece.
I am
an artist.
I am an artist.
And my life is a
masterpiece.
Yes, just focus.
Life is a masterpiece.
Beautiful. Just focus on your thumb.
It made a thumbs up on the show.
Yes.
It made a cartoon. Look.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
AI, love that. So as you focus on this, on your thumb, let your mind wander into a cherished memory. Just something that fills you with love and joy and courage, and the courage to step out boldly. Just bring to mind that moment. Feel it deeply and let it resonate in every part of you. Now, with that sensation that you have, lift your elbow up and swing your thumb back to your cheek. Do you feel the heat? That is life pulsating through you. Repeat after me, gentlemen. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm.
I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm.
And I spring forth with a mighty faith.
And I spring forth with a mighty faith.
To do the things that are mine to accomplish this next hour.
To do the things that are mine to accomplish this next hour.
We are so grateful for this time together as an open channel to the good news that we share with people who listen in. Our lives are prosperous. Our lives are full. We celebrate the blessings of love and joy, and so it is. Amen.
So it is. Amen.
And look, Ed.
Beautiful.
Watch.
I know. I saw that.
Wait, now why isn't it doing it now?
Who knows? But we've done it.
There it goes. Look.
We have done. Oh, amazing. Amazing. That's amazing.
That is.
Remember that was happening? We're like, what's going on?
Right. AI loves our show. It gives us thumbs up all the time. All right. Well, let's hit record, Darrell. You can go bye-bye for, you can mute. Yeah, mute. There we go. Beautiful.
Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Yes, it does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from Middle School Studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Oh, my goodness. We're so happy to be here. What's today's show called, Darrell?
Oh, What If?
What if, with prayer minister C Gaitan, all of these what ifs of a negative nature serve only to reinforce or hasten to completion an old negative goal. Remember, you are what you think about. With not too much mental discipline, you can change those negative what-ifs to positive ones. What if I get a better job? What if I could pay all the bills? The positive what-ifs reinforce and hasten to completion your positive goals. We got this idea from Thomas C Sikking, his book, Creative Responsibility. I'll read a little bit more from that reading in a minute. This is a simple practice that utilizes the practical application of faith as taught by Jesus. On this episode, Darrell and Ed emphasize the truth that what you see with your inner eye, you meet sooner or later on the external. As you change from negative to positive what-ifing, your affairs will correspond as well. And during the second segment, prayer minister C Gaitan returns as our guest and motivates us to eliminate worry in consciousness and welcome instantaneous manifestations with today's reading, My Word. Oh,
my
boy.
word.
My word indeed. You know, our friend CC hit us up this week because we were on our Patreon, by the way. Thank you to everyone who contributes. We got some great new people coming in. And during our Tuesday Patreon Zoom a couple weeks ago, our friend Glenn Brewster talked about a surgery he was having. We were on his knee. And CC hit us up, said, together let us all know the truth that Glenn is being restored to vibrant, radiant health, that his care team is divinely guided to provide the right and perfect treatments, and that he is enjoying the vitality and energy associated with perfect well-being in all aspects of his life. We are grateful for all the miracles and blessings in our lives, and so it is. Amen. And so that day we were trying to figure out who our guest was going to be, and as usual, the universe, spirit delivered CC right to our doorstep. We reached out, and this is something you can use in whatever creative projects you're involved in. If it's the right thing, it's typically easy. It's a yes straight away.
Yep.
And with CC, it was a yes straight away. So she's going to join us in the second segment. By the way, for Patreon this week, thanks to Ginger for jumping on, and Mark and Aisha Livingston, who have been on the show. We should get them back on again soon, Mark and Aisha, if you're listening.
Yes.
Greetings, my fellow Divine Archive recycle divers, because we did that in Unity Village, which is where we met. Today, Aisha and I joined your Patreon. We are so blessed by your message of daily practice and sharing of spiritual truth. There will always be a divine dive waiting for you when you're in Kansas City. Thank you for keeping the show commercial free.
That's right. Thanks to all our Patreon contributors.
Yeah.
Well, this show does not have 1 ounce of commercial interruption.
That's
You
right.
don't have to fast forward in the beginning and then miss a little portion and try to scooch back like I
Yes.
do on other podcasts
Right.
that have commercials.
Right.
The commercials are always at a much higher volume than the
Right.
show.
And they often take you right out of the subject matter that you're
Yes.
enjoying. So we don't have to do that. So thank you, everyone
And
who's jumping on Patreon.
Yeah, we don't have to do that thanks to your contributions.
Yeah, so we want to get into this idea of positive what-ifing this week. I'll read just a couple paragraphs from Creative Responsibility from Thomas C Sikking, if you have not got this book.
Is this a positive drawing? Yeah, it's not bad.
That's one from our friends at the Nuns.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
Jesus Christ is risen indeed. There's a picture of the nuns on the back, and that's true.
These are our friends from the Daughters of St. Paul.
Yeah. So anyway, I was using that as a bookmark. So in the chapter, Use Creative Tools, Thomas writes, well, first I like this line. Your imagination is powerful.
Yes.
Use it creatively to build your life the way you want your life to be. It even says your subconscious mind directs your nervous system, and that is true. Yet it cannot distinguish between an actual event and an event that is vividly imagined in the conscious mind. So that's why what-ifing, we want to pay attention to how are we what-ifing? Are we what-ifing positive or negative? He says, we are the products of our thinking, yet too much of the time we think about things we don't want and pay little attention to our own thought processes. A good example of this kind of thinking is worrying. Most worrying is destructive thinking, or at best, non-productive thinking. By definition, to worry is to go over and over in one's mind the thoughts and ideas about a subject or circumstance. When you worry, it is usually over something you are anxious about, something you fear. So in your mind, you go over all the what-ifs. What if I can't pay the bill? What if the store calls my employer? What if they repossess my television set? What if I lose my job? All of these what ifs of a negative nature serve only to reinforce or hasten to completion in an old negative goal. Remember, you are what you think about. With not too much mental discipline, you can change those negative what ifs to positive ones. This is what we wrote in the description. What if I get a better job? What if I could pay all the bills? The positive what ifs reinforce and hasten to completion your positive goals. In effect, positive worry. If you want to keep something or some condition in your life, worry about it. Positive worry. People don't normally make a conscious effort to worry negatively. They simply respond to a circumstance out of old thinking habits, and worrying begins. Those thinking and responding habits can be changed, but only you can change them. Become aware of what you're thinking about. And that's the key. Sometimes our own subconscious mind is going to try to convince us it can't be changed. There's nothing we can do. But we, as the conscious mind, have to learn to take control of the direction of our subconscious mind and tell our subconscious mind, all right, I know that's what you believed in the past, but I'm here now, and we're going to think about what if this good thing happens. Because the night I read that, I had so much subconscious worry coming up, and I've been releasing a lot. And the reason it's been kind of taking longer, in this case, it's stuff that I had let go for a long time. I had just been coping with it, dealing with it, and the time came to let that go. So it's been awesome. It's been a healing opportunity to use these tools. But why this was so powerful is because I took it to heart, and I started saying, what if I'm already well? What if there's actually nothing wrong with me? What if everything I'm doing is working and it's getting better and better? And why it was so powerful is I realized, wow, all that worry, it's not the voice of God telling me what's going to happen. It's me negative what ifing. And by balancing it, by dissolving it through just positive what ifing, it took all the fear out of the negative what ifing and just made me realize, this is just the misuse of my imagination, as I said. And I have to keep practicing, but it is really powerful when you can take a subject and take that negative what if and take, but what if you, in your conscious mind, you convince your subconscious mind, but what if actually everything is working out on our behalf? What if there really is no problem and we could go out and eat some pizza right now and enjoy our lives? It can be a very, very liberating practice.
I was going to say a couple of things, but Florence Scovel Shinn, she even says, you could think of the subconscious mind as power without direction. So if you're not directing it with your conscious thoughts, it's going to rely on the habitual thoughts of the past or things other people say or do around you. And you'll respond consciously to those things, and then your subconscious will go to make those circumstances correspond, because the universe is always saying yes, and our subconscious mind is part of that. This is a great thing to consider when you listen to our show, because we actually believe this. I jotted this down. It is not necessary that you think of God as others think of him. This is it in a nutshell. So I'm going to read it again, and I'm going to get the whole thing in here. It is not necessary that you think of God as others think of him, but it is necessary that you think of him as supplying what you personally need. I bumped into a guy just the other day, and Stephen, I was actually just on the sidelines, and our friend Stephen Tom Thorpe, who's been on the show, was having a conversation with the guy, talking about how the miraculous way in which Stephen ended up in this incredible condo down at the beach, down in Marina Del Rey on the water. And it's a $5,000 a month, 1-bedroom unit in a 5-star complex. It's a $5,000 unit that he's paying $1,000 for a month, which is people would say that just can never happen. So Steve was sharing all the things he did, which is what we're talking about. Instead of thinking like most people, that could never happen. Oh, they're just lucky. Stephen, without even realizing what the topic of the show is, it was just an example for me of what the topic of this week's show is. And he was explaining how the first thing he did was write down what he would really, really like and not compromise. You know, if you're going to what if, don't compromise. Think really, really what you want, because that's what you're going to get. And this is how you can tell it's good. Because when you what if positively, like, well, what if I ending up in the job that I really love and get extremely well compensated for, better than I ever had before? You could feel inside yourself a joyful response to that, which is an indication that now you're working with you're in harmony with the universe, which is all good. You're not thinking against it. When you're what ifing, and when I'm what ifing negatively and then scheming and trying to figure out how I'm going to navigate this, it feels horrible because I'm working against the simple law of thinking in an affirmative way and then allowing that energy to work on my behalf. And in this book by Ernest Holmes, this is a good one. This is from one of his early books. It's a thin one. It's called Basic Ideas of Science of Mind. And I prefer these little thin ones that were written before that big one was put together, which contains a lot of these little ones, but he really didn't have much to do with that big tome. Right. He really wanted this to be a practical mind science, like understanding that all these philosophies that have come before us are actually sound, incredible, mystical ways of living. And if we could just teach this in, public education or in universities, it would be very advantageous to all the students, more so than a lot of the other stuff that's taught. But his followers had other plans. So in his book, if you have it, it's on page 13. It's called You and Your Mind. And it says, we were taught the omnipotence and the omnipresence of God, universal mind, and also that we were made in his image and likeness. So we arrive at the conclusion that we too, at our level, possess a creativity similar to that of the universal mind. We create in our experience whatever we choose: health, happiness, prosperity, employment, any good thing we need through the process of our constructive thought, through which the unlimited creativity of mind acts, giving form to our desired objective. You are a vital part of this harmonious universe. It appears from experience that the only way for the individual to constructively use the creativity of this invisible but everywhere present mind is by means of his thought, faith, and conviction, and nothing else. So another thing that came up with that guy was, Stephen said, and I used a God box, meaning I put all the concern about having to bring this about on God's shoulders by putting in a God box. And he asked the guy, do you believe in a God? Did you ever use a God box? Oh, no. I'm a devout Buddhist. I can't do anything like that. And I thought, oh my God, that's limiting in my own mind. And that's not to say anything's wrong with Buddhism, because I've heard people who are Catholics say the same thing. Oh, I can't meditate. That's not part of my faith. It's like, but wait a minute. Jesus meditated, but I won't argue with them. I'm not here to argue. I got to just be an example of it. And then so then Stephen said, well, do you believe it helps me get in a mental state of joyful expectancy? Do you believe in joyful expectancy? And the guy said, no expectancy. We're taught not to expect, But joy, yes, we believe in joy and being in the present. So I thought to myself, wait a minute. What brings me this, I jotted this down in my notes, in my little book. I keep my little journal. I actually had a workshop, Create Your Best Life via journaling, which I've changed the title to Create Your Best Life Using Your Little Black Book, because I found out a lot of people would say, no, I already know how to journal. And I go, okay, I'm going to have to change the title, so people don't dismiss it. And this is what I wrote down. I had to think about this. And this is what's good about being around people, I realized, that challenge my way of thinking. Because then I can get clear either A, that my way of thinking can change, needs to be changed for the benefit of my own well-being. When Mike Dugan would constantly challenge my way of thinking, and other good friends will challenge my way of thinking. And then also, it helps me when I pull out, like I did in this case, and you look at it objectively, helps me really understand why I think the way I think. Yes. So this is what I wrote for myself. What brings me joy in the present, because I was thinking about him saying, yes, we believe in joy, and being present, always in the present. Which I'm going, in my mind, I'm going, well, I could never do that. How do you, that's absurd. What does that mean? So I had to ask myself that. And this is what I wrote. What brings me joy in the present is believing that God is supplying all my needs personally. And then I get evidence that that is the truth. And that's what we're talking about, what ifing. It means I am choosing to believe, and it's the only thing that allows me to be in the present joyfully, is that God is supplying all my needs, all my personal needs, all my needs or wants now and in the future. And then the bonus is we always get evidence of that. And I wrote, if I don't believe that a benevolent power is and will supply all I personally need, I cannot stay in the present joyfully and peacefully, because I'm going to start worrying, and I'm going to start what ifing, and now I can't be in the present. And the funny thing is, I thought all through my life, all I ever wanted was peace and joy in the present moment. And discovering these laws and how they operate, and just cooperating with them mentally, believing in good, allows me to live the life I always desired. It takes work, but it's pleasant work. Like one of our Patreon fans wrote us in a email. She said, yes. She goes, it takes a lot of work, but it's pleasant work.
Yes.
And it is pleasant work. And it's like discipline. When we're what ifing in a positive nature, we're using discipline. And we constantly hammer home, discipline simply means to go in a good way. So I thought about that. Well, discipline to go in a good way. So what does that mean? It means restraint and redirect. Restraint from doing the old, oh no, this means this, meaning old ideas of I'm diagnosing myself to my disadvantage. Right. Or I'm telling myself it's going to get worse, or, the finances aren't going to get better, or I'm never going to find a job as good as the one I've had. Just, negative insanity. But instead of going that route, discipline means to go in a good way. So that means I got to restrain myself from my old negative habit and redirect it to what ifing in the affirmative. And at first it may seem fake or unreal, but if you keep at it, it's going to click. You will feel it in your whole body. And when I mean it going to click like a month from now, no, I mean it will click within a 24-hour period. Yes. It will click. Because the ideas of that what ifing in a positive nature connect with, they're harmonious with the laws of life. So they have the whole power of the universe behind them. And once our mind can let go of, no, it's not going to work out. No, you don't understand. My case is different.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're going to feel life flow through you. It's incredible. It happens all the time. And then you get evidence in the physical reality, in your circumstances.
Yes. And that is the amazing part, is the evidence that you get. And then when that happens, it's just such a wonderful feeling. All the negative what ifing causes constriction in our bodies. And we don't realize, until you really start looking at your thoughts and how your body responds, like I've been doing recently, and you start to realize this stuff is really powerful, because when I'm what ifing negatively, my body's trying to pull all its energy in and not let the energy flow, and that's what causes these conditions. I was telling Darrell there was a body part bothering me, and I was thinking, this part of me is bothering me, and my intuition said, no, you're bothering that part of your body by thinking negatively about it. What if it's fine, and you just got to relax and and anyway, God does the healing, not you anyway. So stop bothering that part of your body and start living.
And that's the best. So when Ed said that to me this morning, I said, I'm going to use that all the time. As soon as we think that we feel something like a cold sore or anything, instead of going, oh no, this is bothering, go, no, I'm bothering it by focusing negatively on it.
Yes.
And it's amazing how in the moment the pain diminishes, and then it'll heal more rapidly.
Yeah, my son has been loving this what if thing, and there's something going on with his skin, and it's been healing, but so he got this new opportunity for a treatment plan, and his mind was telling him, well, what if there's scarring and this and that, and trying to counter the good feeling of the healing.
Yes.
And he said to me, he told me that he said to himself, what if that doesn't matter at all?
Yes.
And it just lightened the load, because you got to do it with yourself. You got to dissolve your own worries. One of the things I gathered in my brain, and when I was sitting in the church when I was young, was that if I do something that feels good, God is gonna punish me. That's kind of we all get these weird untruths. Wherever we pick them up doesn't matter, but if they're active in our subconscious, they will. Thomas C Sikking says, our subconscious is always successful. So whatever belief you put in there, it will recreate in our lives. Think about if you're going through something hard. Think about how your mind will imagine the next hard thing that's going to happen and all the people concerned. All of that is just your imagination. You're just sitting there. There's no proof that that's going to happen. But so I've been really starting to learn that. But this morning when I turned it around, I realized that me being me when I'm being myself and doing the things that feel good. For one, I get more things to think, say, and feel good about, and things to do and that feel good. It's the opposite of what I believed. I thought God was this condemning. That's just what got in my brain. So now I'm releasing that, because it's been showing up in my life in interesting ways. I thought it was God that was punishing me, but it was my subconscious mind, because I believed that, would start punishing me when I felt too good.
Yeah.
When I started doing things that were too creative and too enjoyable. So now I realize, but it's so crazy, because me being me is me being good. That's goodness. That's God, me being God. I'm created in the image and likeness of God, and the only way I can know what that is when I feel good and I do the things that feel good.
You know what? Reverend Ike said a couple things on one of his talks. One of them was the Word of God. He goes, people, he goes, I hate to tell you, but the Word of God is not black words on paper inside a book with a leather cover. Mm-hmm. He said, the Word of God is what I believe and think about myself. Yeah. The Word of God is what you believe and think about yourself.
Yes.
And you said something else. What else did you just say? Because he said something about that too.
About feeling good is doing the things that the God's...
okay, yes. The God that you made up in your head was the punishing God. And he said, we all make God... He said, man is made in God's image, and man returns the favor. And he said, what happens is a mean person is the result of believing in a mean God. A joyful person believes in a joyful, loving God that meets all his needs. A confident person believes in a God that works everything together for good. A scared person believes in a God that makes unexpected negative things happen.
Right.
A scary God.
Yeah.
So we got to consider these things.
Yeah.
And going along those lines of both those things that I just mentioned is a great reading from around the year in Emmett Fox. And one is from the June 4th, if you have it. People, it's called Seeking and Finding. People are very apt to find what they seek. You have noticed that people who go about looking for trouble practically always find it. The popular proverb, listeners seldom hear good of themselves, is an example. We all know people who love to say that they never have any luck. When things seem to go against them, they exclaim triumphantly, "Wouldn't you know it? That is what happens to me. That is what always happens to me."
Yep.
Now, such a mistaken person needs only to alter this habit. And we're talking about this habit of what-ifing.
Yes.
Because the person who always has bad luck is who says they never have any luck, because they're what-ifing. That's a what-if. I don't ever have any luck.
Yes.
Now, such a mistaken person needs only to alter this habit, and he will automatically alter his life. That's the good news.
Yes.
You don't have to struggle to alter your life. The only struggle is redirecting my thinking.
Yes.
It is often difficult to get such people to make this alteration, but if they do, the result is never in doubt. Spiritual law says that it is never too late to mend, and that when we seek God's help, we find it. And the Bible verse is, "Look unto me and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth, for I am God and there is none else." And that's from Isaiah. And on June 5th, only your own thoughts. And this is what we're talking about. No matter what problem you may have to face today, there is a solution, because you have nothing to deal with but your own thoughts. As you know, you have the power to select and control your thoughts. Difficult though it may be at sometimes to do so, as long as you think that your destiny is in the hands of other people, the situation is hopeless. Remind yourself constantly that you have nothing to deal with but your own thoughts. Write it down where you see it often. Have it on your desk. Hang it in the bedroom. Write it in your pocketbook. Write it on your soul. It will transform your life. It will lead you out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. It will bring you to God. And then from Psalm 119, it says, "I thought on my ways," and that means thinking in this new what-ifing style, "and turn my feet unto thy testimonies," which means now I'm calling my friends saying, funniest thing. You're not going to believe it. And then I have two quotes here. One is from Alan Cohen. "I live in the world I choose with my thoughts."
Yes.
And another one's from Dorothy Fields. "Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street."
Oh my God, that's amazing. Oh yeah, just in from Glenn Brewster. The funniest thing says, "Hello, Darrell and Ed. Well, got my knee replacement." He didn't even know we were recording right now. He said, "I'm just resting up and healing now. I had a couple people tell me about how terrible it was for them.
Oh boy.
That hasn't been my experience.
Yes.
It hasn't been a picnic, but I'm so glad I got it done. I've been reading Joseph Murphy, and it's helping me keep my mind in a better place. Sarah and I listened to your podcast on our way to and back from the hospital. That helped a lot. So thank you guys. You rock."
Let me just read one last thing before we go to the break.
Well, we got a couple of other things to read.
We got
too,
a
so
couple
go
other
ahead.
things. Okay. So this is a book called Touchstones, a book of daily meditations for men, but they're strong enough for women.
Yes.
Or women like them too. And it says, "Words and magic were in the beginning one and the same. And even today, words retain much of their magical power." And that's Sigmund Freud. And it says, "We shape our experiences with the words we use to describe them. Word images create expectations, and we naturally move toward them. It is our responsibility to use respectful, honest, health-giving words. We can no longer use defeating, shaming, or derogatory words.
Yes.
And this means when we're thinking. Thinking is speaking. Thinking is using words. So
Yes.
remember that. And here's why. Our language has a hypnotic effect on us and the people around us. And on the bottom it says, I will call forth images, meaning what ifing in a positive way, and use words to show I respect myself and others. And at the bottom I wrote, how would it feel if my desire was already my reality now? And that's what ifing.
Yes. If you want to send us anything, funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. We did get a couple postcards from Kirky. Going nowhere is a guy climbing a ladder. We've all been there before. That's what happens when we negative what if.
Yeah.
Mayday, mayday, stop making conditions. Most people ask for happiness on condition. Happiness can be felt only if you don't use conditions. That's from Arthur Rubinstein.
And what he means is, I'll be happy once I meet the right girl. I'll
Right.
be happy once we move to Hawaii.
This one says, silence is better than BS and surfing jerks too. That's a quote apparently from Darrell Fazara.
Wow.
The quieter you become, the more you can hear, says Ram Dass.
Ah!
And silence is a fence around wisdom. Getting quiet is a gift that pays dividends. That was a German proverb about silence. So you got to get into the silence. This is 100% true. I've been using some AI, Joe Dispenza meditations to let go lately. Only the AI ones, mind you, on YouTube. But it's been very helpful. It's really about, one of the things that's in these meditations, it's not about trying, it's about trusting. So if you wanted to, well, again, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. That's the funniest thing. We want to thank our chief engineer, Jeff Comfort. Each week, he takes us right into the comfort zone. All right. This week, I texted this to Darrell. He was out and about, and I was thinking about what's really starting to work in my life. Because sometimes we think this stuff is so smart, and we have to... Looking smart and making things complicated is usually for fear of what other people are going to think of us. Because what really works is to get simple.
It's not
put it
trusting.
in God's hands. Actually, there's another tool that we got from Catherine Ponder this week in her newsletter, which says, write letters to the angels. And it's so funny because yesterday my friend who is a praying, faith-filled person that I teach with, and was talking to me, and we were talking about something I was going to tell her.
What?
I learned that you got to ask the angels. You got to tell the angels what you want because they don't even know. If you have problems,
they're sitting around waiting.
Yeah, and they don't know anything about our problems because our problems are all in our mind basically and on this plane, and they don't exist in that plane. So I was going to tell her that, but I didn't have time to. But then I got home and I found the Catherine Ponder newsletter, and it said the great tool they use in their prayer ministry is they write letters to the angels of love, angels of healing, angels of prosperity, and they actually do it. And there's a woman who wrote in a letter and how it changed everything in a matter of days. So I started doing it last night. It's just another version of the God box to make sure you know God is doing the healing. Yes. You're doing the faith-filled believing, the positive what-ifing, and that's another way of saying you got to kind of keep it dumb and make it fun.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's take a deep breath to clear our mind.
Okay.
Keep it dumb and make it fun. That's the way to get it done.
I keep it fun and make it fun. That's the way to get it done.
Yes, I keep it dumb and make it fun. That's the way to get it done. Were you going to say something?
No.
Coming up next, prayer minister C Gaitan returns as our guest and motivates us to eliminate worry and consciousness and welcome instantaneous manifestations with today's reading, My Word.
My Word.
Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Middle School Studios, live in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland. Oh, nice.
What?
Someone
Tell Glenn we're on the air.
All right. I did. Yeah, I sent him the link. Yeah, Lois is CC. We're ready for you when you're ready. Lois Conklin out there said, "Hi, Darrell and Ed. Enjoying your conversation so far. I think your guest is on the Zoom call with Kathy Norman and Beth Suggs. Prosperity, Joy of Life, Studying the Quest. Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific."
Studying the Quest.
Oh, I know that one. The Jafola classic.
Someone gave it to us.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
I don't think so. I've only heard about the gist of it and seen it referenced before, but I don't think I've actually read it.
Look.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Whoa, turn that sideways.
So
turn it sideways so we could see the thickness.
it's a thick piece of cake. Nice.
All right.
Are you going to use the restroom?
Yeah, and I'll be right back.
And then we'll get started. Okay.
Have your coat.
All right. How are we doing, CC? You good?
Yes, I am. Do you mind if I just take a quick break real quick?
Oh, no, not at all. That's great. I'll
Thank you.
hang out. I'll hang out on YouTube here. YouTube, hello. Oh, man, Michael Schoonover sent us a great little invocation to this week. It's from a man that we didn't even know. It's a new teacher. I can't wait. I got his book on the way. His name was Brown Landone, and he was an incredible New Thought teacher. He was very influential, and yet we've never heard of him until this week. But this invocation said, and he was a doctor who got into New Thought. He worked as an undercover agent for the government at some point under 2 presidents. But it says, "Our soul knows it has the power to shine forth in joyous activity, and then all fears vanish into nothingness. We pray for illumination out from the boundless radiation of God, that the divine spirit of our souls see through the mists of our fears to attainment of our true desires. We need illumination to shine as glorious sunshine, to vanish all our fears into the nothingness from which they are, for ourselves and those we love." So you really got to start, there's really an opportunity to start looking at your fears. Remember that they are false evidence appearing real and rational. I like to add. And what would happen if you really stop listening and letting them run the show? Because if you start really thinking about what fear does, it is just such negative what-ifing. And it's just, sometimes you got to walk one step by step while you're letting go. Because I just been realizing lately how much fear was running my show in the past. But every time I let go of I take one more step, I learn something new that is so amazing. All right, I'll be right back.
You're taking a step?
Step class.
You love the step class. Remember when there was step classes? That little thing you would step on in aerobics?
I feel like there's a bunch of people watching us, but it was kind of cute when you were speaking, Darrell. You used the thumbs up gesture, and the hand came up.
I know, it's
It was.
if it does it again.
It was cute.
There it is.
There it is. In a bubble.
It's amazing. I wonder what this will do. I think maybe that's the only one. Maybe this.
Works.
Oh.
I love that.
Ed, if you do the peace sign, it sends up balloons.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Why? Does that mean something?
No, I didn't know if it's good to learn what's responding to. Is it doing it? Oh, wow. Interesting. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Bye, Lori. Darrell's wife's just leaving. Shall we?
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to segment 2. Our show is called What If with Prayer Minister C Gaitan. We've been talking about the practice. We've been what-ifing in a positive way. He also calls it positive worrying. That's a good way to flip it.
Yeah.
But CC, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, man. You knocked on our door, and there you were standing. So we're so happy that you're here. And you heard that Glenn is doing great.
Yes. That is such great news. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And Glenn, I just send you lots of love and healing. Godspeed, my friend.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, so what do you have? What are your thoughts on today's topic?
Well, I love this topic. And Lois is right. I am taking the Quest workshop with Reverend Kathy and Beth Ann. And Beth Ann was, or is, will always be, my prayer minister instructor. And I've heard you and Darrell talk about a book called Fear Not, Only Believe.
Mm.
And that was my credo for being a prayer minister. And I love, it was from the book of Mark, chapter 5, verse 36. And it resonated with me as a prayer minister because it laid out sort of the blueprint for healing. And if you're not familiar with the story, Fear Not and Only Believe is a story of Jesus. I believe that he just finished giving the Sermon on the Mount, and he was walking amongst the people. And I don't know the right pronunciation, but there was the leader of a synagogue, and his daughter was dying, and he felt that Jesus could heal her. So he starts running down the streets, going towards Jesus. And as he approaches Jesus, someone from the house says, don't bother Jesus. Your daughter has died. She's dead. And he's overcome with emotions. And Jesus looks at him and says, fear not, only believe. And so Jesus asked to go to his home. And when he enters the home, there's people that are grieving and crying and sobbing. And Jesus tells them to leave. All the people that are ruining the vibe.
Yeah.
And he asked for his disciples, Peter, who represents faith.
Yeah.
James, who represents judgment, and John, who represents love. And he took his disciples with him, and he asked the mother and father of the child to come with him into the room. And he said, she's not dead, she's sleeping. And my understanding of what that means, sleeping, is that her soul had not left her body. So he knew this vibrationally with the help of spirit, and he commanded her to stand. And she did. And she greeted her parents, and she asked to eat. And to me, as a prayer minister, I took that as I needed to center myself and lean into not the fear, but the belief that there is something greater than what is appearing before me. When somebody comes to pray with me, there is something greater at work here. We just need to tune in and tap into this. And sometimes I can't do it alone, so I have asked other prayer ministers to join me or to create a circle where we energetically are on that wavelength of a higher frequency, a higher consciousness. And it was, as I think of that as a healing goes, whether you're having an issue with money or a problem with your health, or a way of thinking that needs to be changed, you have to lean into your belief that there is something very powerful happening here, that God is here. You're not separated. You are not alone. And when you center yourself in that spirit, incredible things happen. But they're not incredible in the spiritual realm. That is the way it is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I just feel, as I'm taking the quest, and having Beth Ann as a teacher, is, as I'm going through, it is reminding me of going through the prayer minister training, because yes, I know the steps of a prayer, and I know there is a lot of the mechanics of being a prayer minister that I know. But when Beth Ann became my instructor, she actually wanted us to go deeper and centering ourselves at a spiritual level. And she yeah to speak from that place, that heart-centered space. And intellectually, I knew what she was talking about, intellectually at the beginning. But as I've seen this process and worked with prayer in my thoughts, it is a much it is an enriched life that I feel. It is an enriched life. It is things that I thought were important are they're nice, but they're not the same. They don't give me that same energy that I get with that internal centering.
Yeah.
That, that you told this story, people are probably listening going, well, how could I learn this? Where could they tune into the workshop? Is it possible for them to still join this weekly? I'm assuming it's the weekly class on Thursdays with Kathy Norman. Is that correct?
That is correct. And it is being taught by Beth Ann. And as I hear Beth Ann teaching, I think we're at chapter 5 now. She is inviting us to take that internal journey. And it is not learn it and you know it. This is, I believe you talked about it, it is an ongoing process. And you are constantly learning and growing, and I do not always do it correctly. So there is, I believe it's one of the second chapter is find a community that is operating in that higher vibration. And this is I think your community, the Funniest Thing community, is an excellent start, because you are always talking about raising the vibration, and you use books and your own experiences and readings, and it's just very helpful. I use it I listen to it at work, and people at my job have gotten into you guys too. So
wow.
If you can find a community, and I believe they use the example of learning to play tennis. If you play with somebody who's better than you, you'll get better. Kind of like that, but in a spiritual way.
So Ed, I think, just found the link. So if you're listening to this on the podcast app or you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be in the description. And that's at Unity Joy of Life. Kathy Norman, who took over her mom's ministry, Nancy Norman, that we've had on the show. And this is being taught by Reverend Beth Ann. So you could check that out and explore that for yourself. So we just put all that information in the description.
Yeah. And I know what you're saying about this enriching of your lives. I mean, that's the whole thing. We enrich other people's lives by first enriching our own, by first releasing. Like this week I was up driving up after I've been doing a lot of new choices just to get out of being identified with my current job and way of thinking. And it's not just that, but like the underlying old fearful beliefs that were connecting me, like holding on to it, like in ways that were unhealthy. And as I do this, it's like new ideas and new things open up. And I've been going up to a place where I surf north of Malibu here, which is really nice. I've talked about it before. It's like there's you park on PCH. It's very rural, but I mean wealthy homes scattered here and there, but very rural. And then you walk down this long road, and there's this like cafe and this little beach and an amazing wave that not that many people tend to surf, but it's really great and a really amazing experience. It's a getaway. It's fun surfing. Everything all in one. Nature, frogs. You hear the frogs and birds. And I was walking down the road, and one of the things I've been letting go of is this old sense of loneliness that would come up. And it was so like deep, it felt, that I didn't even know why, whatever. You know, I mean, it just was like something that had been with me for a long time. But I just said to myself, there's no reason to be lonely because, and this is something I've learned from Emma Curtis Hopkins or some reason it really emphasized, is this is about retraining my brain to not like kind of coddle those old beliefs that are based in lies. They're based in some false belief. That's why it feels bad, because the whole truth is only the good is real. And so, and the only way you can really practice this, I believe, is with myself. The only way, like, just me and me. And so I'm walking down, I'm like, there's no reason. God is here. I am fully here. Why would I feel lonely? And then as that door opened, then I feel connected to my wife, my Darrell. And no matter where anyone is on the planet, I'm connected with them through the now of this moment. So first I just felt God's presence. And so then my mind was like, how do I know how many people are? It's a kind of a small little place. What if there's too many people? What if there aren't enough waves? Blah, 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 because I can't see the ocean yet. So I said, and I've been priming my subconscious lately on these things. So my subconscious, I just intuitively thought, I don't need anything right now. I'm satisfied already. I've ridden so many good waves in my life. I've ridden so many waves here. Just the fact that I came out here, that's fine. I feel satisfied. And then I walk around the corner, and it looks like there's less waves than I thought there'd be, and more people. And I said, I don't care. I'll paddle into the ocean. I'll get back out just for a little exercise. But by the time I had paddled out, it's a little bit of a paddle out to where everyone's sitting, because you have to sit by this rock where the waves break from. And so if there's a bunch of people and if there's not a lot of waves, it's like you get edgy. It's like all the things that I don't really enjoy about surfing, just sitting among, people are stressing. But because I had done this, I blessed it. By the time I got out there on my way, 3 of the guys got out. By the time I got out there, within minutes, it was just me and one other guy who had just arrived as well. Me and one other guy. The ocean went like glass, just glassy, just calm. Then every few minutes, 2 or 3 waves would come through. So it was perfect for just he and I. And the waves got considerably better. So for 90 minutes, we had the time of our lives. And I just kept happening to be in the perfect place at the perfect time for the better waves. I mean, and it was just like my mind was, because I didn't realize, I didn't put it all together till later that evening, what I had done. And this is why you got to write things down. I didn't put it together till later that I had affirmed the presence of God in where it seemed the problem to be the loneliness, which is what Emmett Fox calls the golden keying. I saw God there where first it felt like there was loneliness. And then I affirmed that I have my good now, not at some I will get good waves. I've already gotten the good waves. I already am satisfied.
Yes, and that's his postcard with the surfer on the front.
Totally.
Said, don't make my happiness conditional.
Right, and then it made no sense that all of those guys got out, and then the waves improved, all of that, and then it was just us 2 guys for 90 minutes of just perfectly what I needed, and it wasn't, but the reason I bring it up is because it taught me in a concrete way that I can keep going back to what it means, because I used it the next morning before work. I don't need anything from this day. I'm already satisfied. There's no reason to be feeling like stressed and lonely and disconnected, because God is already fully present. And the miracles that happened that day were amazing as well. But it's just a concrete example for me of practicing the presence and affirming the good that I desire as if it is already so, and amazingness that can happen as a result.
Well, should I share something that will really make me look like a weirdo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Weirder than you think, and it's a good thing.
Several things. One, there's a book that we recommend. It's, what's it called? Mental Practice. Scientific
Christian mental practices by Emma Curtis Hopkins.
Yeah, Scientific Christian Mental Practice by Emma Curtis Hopkins. And in there, she leads off with you got to come to the understanding that there is only spirit, there is no matter. Other words for spirit that are synonymous with spirit, God, universe, is the word energy. And the energy is good. The energy is full of life. And she says things before Einstein even said them, that a rock is not dead, wood is not dead, that nothing is dead. There are atoms moving. There's energy moving in everything. And all these teachers help us come to realization that energy, that thought and energy is a vibration. Thought creates vibration. And the universe runs on the harmonious wavelength, on a harmonious wavelength where energy is always working to good. But we tend to view matter as real, and when we see things break down and change, we say the universe is bad. Things don't last because we can't grasp it. And I'm just going to read a little bit from this book, and then I'm going to tell you an amazing story where it became so obvious to me that this is a reality. Because this is what helps us do prayers of healing on ourselves or for others when we realize there is no matter, there is only spirit. So let me tune into these higher thoughts of a higher frequency, which are teeming with life, which are thoughts of love, peace, harmony, unity. That light, even light flowing through the cells of our body. Well, that you could feel this when you even say those words. Good health, happiness, love, success, prosperity, and money. You can even throw that in. Oh, I can't say that. Well, then you got a problem with that. Say it. Say these things, and you'll feel yourself come alive. You'll feel it because you're tuning in to the great reality. So just from Ernest Holmes, I'm going to read this sentence or two, and then I'm going to tell you this incredible story. It was Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared, which revolutionized and clarified much scientific thinking, and at the same time cleared the way for the establishing of firmer foundations for considerable philosophical and religious thought. In essence, it means that energy and mass, that which has physical qualities, are one and the same and are interchangeable. So, from our point of view, this would mean that mind, God, acting as energy, becomes what we know as the physical world according to the law. They are one and the same. But God, being infinite, can never be depleted by what is created. It is only reasonable to declare that everything which is ever to be must also come from God, which is energy. In fact, there is nothing else out of which anything could be made. I'm going to read this last part. Mind is everywhere, after all. This is just the same as saying what we were taught to say in earliest childhood. God is everywhere. That statement did not mean much to us then, but now we know that this universal mind is everywhere. Therefore, it is within us. So about 2 weeks ago, I decided to go to Fleet Week on a whim, had the best time of my life, was invited onto a battleship, the USS Iowa, by a captain in the Coast Guard. Now, this all just happened serendipitously, But I went with a hunch and a joyful attitude. And the funniest thing, without realizing what today's show, my mind was what ifing. What if that turns out to be a lot of fun? What if I'm pleasantly surprised? You know, because I didn't know what to expect. And even Lori was busy editing. And I said, I think we're going to Fleet Week. She goes, really? Fleet Week? And even I was like, really? Fleet Week? In my mind. But something made me go.
Yeah, and I told him too. I was like, because you called me and you're like, oh, they have this and they have this. And then you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't go. And I'm like, between those two voices, you should go because you're like lighting up when you talk about Fleet Week.
So I go, and it's impossible if you'll only know this if you're in the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is only 39,000 members. That's all it's ever been, which is nothing. That's less than the New York City Police Department. So you rarely, if ever, bump into, if you're a retired or Coast Guard veteran, the chances of bumping into another guy in the Coast Guard are like, or a woman is like, I don't know, 1,000,000 to 1. But my love affair with my experience that I'm forever grateful for seems to make those odds a little bit more in my favor. And I'm still surprised. So I coincidentally bump into a captain in the Coast Guard, has his own command. We hit it off. We start talking. And I felt so good talking with him. And we weren't talking about military so much as just life in general. And he was interested in what I've done since. And it was an incredible time. He invites me, I probably said this on a previous show last week, he invited me to a private reception for all the cadets which sail on the one and only Coast Guard tall ship, which is from the 1800s. This is, you know, one of those, like the ships you saw Columbus sail on. It's one of those. And they sailed it from New London, Connecticut, all the way to here to San Pedro. Like old time, wind only, you know, climbing the masts type stuff. So I said, he invites me to his reception on the battleship. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. The battleship itself was like magnificent. And it's a retired battleship that's now a museum. Worked through World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, on and on until it was retired. I sent pictures to Ed, to Lori, video. And then, right, didn't it look incredible? It looked like a brand new ship. Everything works on it. It's a functioning museum. The guns, everything works. So a week later, there was something else going on the ship, unrelated to the captain, unrelated to anything military. It was a whole nother group. And I thought, well, let me take Steven. We'll go check this out, and he'll get to see this battleship. The vibration, the consciousness of this group was the antithesis of the consciousness of the other group. And the battleship looked like a battled ship. It was an entirely different, the material battleship looked unkept, beat up, like falling apart.
Right.
Even Steven, so we left because there's a story about the guy with the Volkswagen he gives to his son, says take it to a dealership. The guy, yes. the dealership offers the son $1,000 for it. Comes home, he says, oh my God, Dad, they offered $1,000. The father says, take it to a pawn shop. He takes it to a pawn shop. We'll give you $500 for it because it's a 50-year-old Volkswagen. And they said, oh, we'll give you $50 for it because it's just, you know, a rundown old Volkswagen. Then his father says, take it to this club, a Volkswagen car club. Dad, you're not going to believe it. Several of the members offered me $100,000 for the car. It's extremely rare, and many of these members have, and very sought after by many of these members. And the father says, see, you got to realize, when you realize your self-worth, well, then don't stick in places where you don't feel worthy, because yes. It means you haven't found your group. And to me, it says the consciousness of a group, we can feel it, but it changes the matter. It changes our bodies. It changed this whole battleship. I mean, Cece, this sounds insane. People go, well, was it cloudy that day? I mean, I know I've been to places on a rainy day and it looks terrible. No, it was sunny. It was just like the other experience,
Yes.
but I was on a totally different ship. And I couldn't stop thinking, holy cow, I have never seen, I mean, yes, physical changes, but I've never seen, a steel item that I was just on. The sailors from the sailing vessel, the first thing they said when I met them, because we're up above the gun turrets is where we had this private reception. We're looking down on this massive deck of this battleship. And one of the sailors from the Coast Guard goes, I thought the Eagle, which is the tall ship of the Coast Guard, had a lot of teak. Look at all the teak on this deck. And I look down, I go, wow, that's all beautiful teak. Is the flooring
Right.
on the top. When Steve and I were there the second time with this group that was just dour and dingy in mind, the floor planks looked like they were falling apart. It looked so drab.
Right.
And this was a big lesson. And, because I've always experienced this, we talk about it in traffic. Change your idea. Start blessing the traffic. Start saying, I do this. Friends, 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 friends. And traffic starts to transform. And it's always been kind of easy for me to see that. Yes, I believe this stuff. But to see a battleship transform from this magnificent thing where everything worked to something that looked like it was beat up and needs to be in the scrap heap blew my mind. And I guarantee you, and I told Steven this, I think I even said to Ed, I go, watch, when my captain, his name's Toby, when Toby invites me back, which I'm sure he will, for some other, event on that ship, that consciousness, again, it's going to shift. And the ship is going to be just as magnificent as it was the first time. I mean, I haven't sent video of me going through the inside of the ship.
Yes.
And it looked new. It looked like totally upkept. It's crazy. I love this stuff. When I get real life experience, in my face experience. And this is why this show is important for people, because your life is your laboratory, and you're going to get the results, for better or worse, according to how you think and feel about the situation. And like everything we read today, and like the story that Cece shared, if you could just believe, change to what ifing in the affirmative and put your trust in that God will that will meet all your needs personally, all that you personally need, then you could rest and joy in the present, and you will get evidence in your real experience, your life experience.
Beautifully said. As you were talking about those two battleships, I put myself as the battleship, because there are times when I have gone through the day weathered and beaten, but powered through it. And I made it through. I may have won the battle, but I would have felt much better if I was the jewel on the ocean and sailed through my day in a different frame of mind.
Yes.
And it is just the juxtaposition of those two just really drives it home for me. Yes, you can win the battle, but you are not going to sail through. You're not going to get very far on that. You want to live a life in the flow.
Yes.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you have the Florence Scovel Shin reading that we sent to you, Cece?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Great.
Okay. Now is the appointed time. Today is a day of amazing prosperity. This affirmation would bring an immediate change in world affairs. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, as is success or failure, and lack or abundance. For words and thoughts are a form of radioactivity. Man must learn to draw from the universal supply for everything. This will do away with all poverty and limitation, which are states of mind. We live in a great sea of magnetic force called mind stuff, which continually takes the form of man's desires. The body can be remolded by treatment, which is clear vision and an affirmation. Don't be dejected and sad, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Joy brings new strength, vigor, and vitality. Worry and fear tear down the cells of the body. People who have knowledge of spiritual truth come through big financial losses, looking and feeling as if always on the crest of the wave. Being undisturbed by the appearance of loss, the money was restored.
It's the truth.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That's amazing. Yep. Darrell's story is great, man. It's like your life is the battleship, your house, your marriage,
Yes, it's all the
your car,
battleship.
your job, where everything is the consciousness you bring to it. And that's it. That's why we do the work in the lab of our own minds. And when that shifts, and sometimes you're going to hit a place where maybe you decided a long time ago, maybe someone else decided, and you took on the decision that that thing could never be changed, or that thing's too hard, or you're just going to have to live with that. But through these principles, you could say, well, what if that's not true? What if everything, only the good is real? What if only the good is real about me, and start looking at it through this lens? Because what if it turns out that that is actually the truth with a capital T, and that's the only reality, and all these other things are just cutting us off from the flow, and that feels bad, and that cutting myself off from the flow will actually... Fear is an amazing thing, because by cutting myself off from the flow and connecting my own imagination, I will start to experience symptoms or whatever that thing is, that the fear, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the solution is to, like Emmett Fox says, open the window of my consciousness and let the light shine through, and it transforms everything. The very imagination that was caught up in generating this negative condition, when it's flipped and starts imagining what we want instead of what we don't want, which is what I've been focusing on, everything literally changes for the better. It has to, because only the good is real.
Well, and also that example with the battleship shows that where two or more are gathered,
yes,
the consciousness is strong and it affects
Yep.
the environment. Ed and I both agree. If we see a long line at the car wash, instead of making ourselves go, we go, oh, we'll come back at another time. And the consciousness of the car wash at that time is everybody, we got to get our car washed now, no matter what. And I'm going to push through this.
Yes.
And then we'll go back after we've just done our thing or done something else in a light and jolly manner. And now, and there's no one there, and we go right through. And the same thing, but we're trying to say, you don't have to power through, because Steve and I did not stay and power through the consciousness that was on the ship the second time I went.
Right.
Because the collective consciousness, and it was, a considerable amount of people, like 25 people, but they were thinking, drab, dreary, downer, negative. It's cool to be beaten down. It's cool to think, things aren't going to work out. Like I thought as a teenager. But I don't need to try to transfer, because I've done this in the past, thinking I'm going to now be the guy who lifts them up. No, it just means, okay, I'm feeling the vibe. I'm not a vibrational match. It's time to go. And it's obvious. We don't have to stay where we don't feel good. Ed's got a great reading that goes with this. I sent you that Hicks one. And it means you can go back at another time. My dad used to say this to me, and I guess I can call him a New Jersey metaphysician, because he would always say, think positive, you miserable bum. No, or you're smarter than that, you idiot. So, but he would say, no, we'll come back later. And I said, but Dad, I thought we were going to get that now. He goes, it doesn't look like it's the right time. We'll come back later. And we go back later, and there'd be less. Like, he understood that without having to learn it. Like, that's what we're saying. This stuff is intuitive. So this is a great one from Esther Hicks.
Yeah, she says, don't do anything that you don't really want to do. Keep yourself in a place of feeling good. Reach for the thought that feels better and watch what happens.
Yeah.
Yes. That is it. Is just that's how you raise your vibration. And I love the way you are using your spidey senses or to feel into a situation rather than just superficially seeing how things are presented. That I am also working on developing that sense.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I do, talk myself out of stuff.
Right.
But this is just, everyone write notes. This is exactly how you do it. You use your senses because it is your gift. It is your gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Once we start imagining we're trapped in something, then we lose our senses. And that's what kind of happens to me, has happened to me sometimes in my job, because I believed I had to stay there or had this or that. And then you start looking a little too closely, like losing sight of the big picture. Like I was thinking about it at the school. Like I was sitting in there and in one of the rooms, and I was thinking, man, I started feeling, my energy was feeling bad, and I was just thinking, what if I was somewhere where everyone believed that within each student they have gifts, and our job is just to shine light on them, and our job is to learn from them, and when they see differently, we learn together and they learn, and that is actually transforming the world for the better. And that was our whole purpose, instead of what some of the collective beliefs are in that environment. And I just could see that difference, and I thought, but if I lose, like Emmett Fox says, like we have to keep our minds open to God. Any institution, any person, anything that makes us, it was all about not making a vow to anything, like other than to be true to our spirit. Because once we join a group that says we have to vow to never do this or always do this, we lose our actual vow, the connection to the truth, to our divine spirit. Because if you step back, like if I look too close, I could say, well, what's the person's intention for teaching this lesson? Oh, they're so happy they want to teach about this history thing or whatever. But then if you look back a little bit more, a lot of the spirit in this building might be, we're here because we're afraid to lose our job, and we have to do it this way, and we're clinging to this, and we're clinging, like those bigger intentions are also affecting what's going on in that environment, and the bigger intentions, like I said, are we coming here with the understanding that each person is divinely made? Do we practice that ourselves, and are we passing that on to these young minds? Because I was thinking, that's where I want to be. But as soon as my imagination accepts a line, it's like code in computing, a line that says, I have to stay here, I'm stuck, then it starts to write a different story. It's like you're trying to make the best of something, which is better than making the worst of it or cursing it, but not as good as like, well, what do I really want? And what if me asking for more is actually going to bring me more good than I can ever imagine? It will make it easier for God to help me than the way I'm doing it now. And so, I've been writing down in my notes when I take time to visualize my good. What if, take some time in your day, and you're going to have to break the mental habits that are negative and feel bad, and kind of just get yourself to almost rotely do it for a little while. Just, all right, this may not work. I don't care. My mind might be telling me, but I'm going to sit here and just take some time to imagine what are the things I really want. And then ask myself, what if this is actually what's the best for me? What if this is going to come easy? And just like you said, and it will.
Well, it comes easy because it's the truth. Because the big lie that parents and people in the world teaches, if you leave something that feels bad, things are only going to get worse.
Right.
Well, that's insanity. Every time you can do an inventory on your life, every time you leave something bad, things only get better. They never get worse.
Right.
But we tell ourselves this lie that if you leave something, this feels bad, but if you leave this, how do you know it's going to be even as good as this, even though this is bad? But that's a lie. That's insanity. That's what if someone told that to a certified psychiatrist, I can't leave this, and they even call this battered wives syndrome. They call this Stockholm syndrome. But when it comes to me living my own life, I could never leave this group, even though I feel bad in this group. I'm not getting the spiritual nourishment in this group, because if I leave this group, it'll probably get worse. That's insanity, folks. Anytime we leave something that feels bad, it means we're outgrown it and there's something better. And as soon as we step out boldly with faith, it always only improves. It's never gotten worse in my life when I've left something that no longer fed me, no longer was a challenge, a creative challenge for me. It's only gotten better, and it only gets better for all of us. When you leave a fight, you don't feel worse. You feel relieved. You stop getting hit.
Well, we have to, the thing is, as parents and teachers too, like, we got to learn from God. God is our parent and is our teacher, and God never punishes. So what is parenting like that doesn't punish? Parenting like and teaching is to share principles and let someone go do what they're going to do, but arm them with the principles so that when they come back and learn from their lesson, they learn from themselves. They don't do it because they're afraid, if I don't do this thing, I'm going to get punished. God does not punish. Right. So, but a majority or a lot of the way people teach and parent is do this thing, and if you don't, because my own insecurity is triggered, then I'm going to get mad at you, blah, blah, blah. It's not the way God works. God does, and so until we have to learn a whole new way of unconditional love. It's so powerful to tell a kid, oh, I trust you, go out and explore. Here's the principle, here's what I've learned works. And then they get the benefit of feeling trusted and loved, because that's the way God trusts and loves us. And they get the benefit of seeing these principles and learning.
Well, they'll see it
on their own.
They'll see it.
Yeah, and it's just amazing.
Text you sent me.
It's amazing. Which
that one about, I can't believe bad's going to happen because God and God is good. That's like saying good brings bad when good can only bring good.
Yes. Where was that?
Wasn't that? It was just this morning.
I know, but we've texted a lot.
No, I liked it.
I know.
You put good in parentheses.
Oh, I said me being me is me being good or God. What a great feeling. And my idea of God was so off the one I was hearing about as a kid. So that statement would have been a sin back then. That's right. Me being me and me being good is me being God.
And then
that would have been a sin back then.
Yeah,
but it's true.
Doing what feels good naturally to you, that you're inspired to do. Somehow we were taught, oh, that's not good. But you didn't know these. Right, one last thing after that. That it was a short little, almost an affirmation. That was so good. And you put it in parentheses. It was the icing on the cake.
I said, wow, what a relief. A great relief.
No. There's parentheses. Yeah, let me look. It'll come back to my brain.
Yeah. CC, have you enjoyed your time on Funniest Thing?
Yes, I have. Not to continue with this, but the one the one sort of comeback that I just really do not handle well, and everybody that knows me knows it, is when they say it could be worse.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be worse. I don't want to hear it could be worse.
No.
I want to know, how do I get from here to better?
Yeah, I know that the response is it can be better. It can always be better.
Yes, it can
Yeah.
always be better.
When it's the same mind, what if worry or what if positive, what if, and it's powerful when we switch to what if this is getting better? What if it really, these subconscious mind, when they're in those worries are active in there, it does affect our lives. So it behooves us to uproot that stuff with positive affirmations.
Absolutely.
Yes, I found it. And you said it, but for some reason it didn't sound as good as when I read it.
Okay.
Me being me, so you being your real self, doing the things that you really love to do, is you being God, good. Good is synonymous with God.
Yeah.
The word good, if you have a problem with the word God, substitute it with the word good. That Emma Curtis Hopkins even says it's actually more powerful to all of us if we use the word good to replace the word God in our thoughts and our beliefs about it, because then it makes it impossible to make it a mixed bag.
Well, it's also why it's very tricky when parents use the term, or teachers, you're being a good boy or a good girl when you're betraying yourself.
Yes.
But you're doing what they say, which is also why it makes people, it's training people to stay in bad situations where what someone's saying feels bad and betraying themselves feels bad, but they're being a good boy because they're following the rules of what someone else is saying.
Yes, that's what killed me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's why when people say that being a good, like we are all good, period. That's baseline. That can't change, but like a lot of us are undoing these conditions because of the languaging that was used to us when we were younger. So
well,
all right.
We have a great story about you, CC.
Bring it.
Recently, a man was walking along the road near CC Gaitan's house. The man called out to CC.
How long will it take me to get to the next town?
CC didn't answer. The man waited a bit, started walking again. He got about 100 yards when CC yelled,
"About 20 minutes.
The man replied,
"Thank you, but why didn't you tell me that when I asked you?"
CC said,
"Didn't know how fast you could walk."
Mildly humorous.
CC was actually paying attention.
Yes.
Going, okay, at that pace, it's going to take him about 20 minutes.
That's right. If he had gotten mad and said that you were doing something wrong, then he never would have got the answer. He didn't know that you were thinking about it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for being part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. CC, Gaitan, thank you for joining us. If you're listening on a podcast app, then you can rate the show, review the show. You can hit 5 stars if you like it that much, and you could put a review if you care to. But even just the stars helps the show get out to more people. Subscribe and share the show with your friends
on YouTube.
Like the video, make comments, and while you're at it,
grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear that pitter-pat? And that happy tune is your step. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Give me a peace out.
Yes.
Peace.
Oh, look. Peace did confetti and balloons.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.